So today we're looking at how to incorporate employee ownership into your recruitment strategy. Certainly, employee ownership and good employee ownership in an organization can really set businesses apart. And we know that it helps in retention. But actually what we want to talk about today is how can we use that to attract the best talent into an organization. At the moment there is a recruitment crisis, we hear about it, and actually there is the understanding that employers have to work so much harder to attract as well as retain talent. So hopefully today's discussion can help us kind of unpick some of those elements around what makes employee ownership fantastic from a recruitment perspective. To help us with our conversation today, we've got some guest speakers from 3 employee-owned organisations. We've got Neil Smith, Managing Director of Kinetic, who specialises in workforce management. And Neil will say that employee ownership underpins their business strategy and long-term view. We've also got Katrina Ritchie, who is People and Culture Director of Gripple. They're a world-leading manufacturer of wire joining and tensioning systems. And they're an employee-owned company where there is Gripple spirit and there are no job descriptions. And then finally, we've got Tina Allen, Head of HR at Smile Together Dental. So they are the largest NHS dental provider in Cornwall. And as an employee ownership company, they've set themselves apart by being flexible and creative. So I've done my kind of Bridget Jones style introduction to everyone. What I'm going to do is hand over to the individuals themselves so they can give you a little bit of background around them and also kind of the part they play within recruitment as well. So we'll start off by Neil, if that's okay.
Hi, morning everybody. Yes, thanks for the intro, Yogi. I've got a minute and a half apparently. I've been at Kinetic 20 years, but I'll do my best to keep it concise. So I'm the MD of a business called Kinetic, 56 staff. We're a contract business in manufacturing, contract recruitment business in the manufacturing engineering sector. So the business has been around 30 plus years. So in a minute and a half, like a lot of companies, we spent a lot of time diversifying over the years, adding more value into our core contract recruitment business. So, for example, we will work with health and safety, inductions, payroll outsourcing, areas like that. So it's always been a thrust in the business to work on customer value and stay away from perhaps some of the commodity businesses, especially in the recruitment industry. So, and that's always involved everybody in the business across the whole piece, really, from finance to operations to sales. So, and that's really where the collaborations always work well in Kinetic in terms of everybody gets involved in the strategy of the business. And that's always been our mantra. It's all about the strategy, not the hierarchy. So that sort of tees up a little bit why when we looked at employee ownership, it fitted really well. And all that is explained at the recruitment process, which we'll pick up later, I'm sure. But just to explain, that's what our strategy is about. Yogi referred to it as workforce management. So that's broadly where we've moved along, a lot about customer value, working with the right customers and constantly focusing on it, adding the value in rather than just contract recruitment per se. In terms of the EO model itself, transitioned in April 18, 2 key reasons. One, I'm no age, but I was 60 last year, so I'm 61 now. So it's my job to start thinking about succession planning, and that's what I mentioned to my management team. But importantly, like a lot of companies that transition into EO, I was never going to sell the business. All that value I've mentioned very briefly was created by the people in the business. And so I was looking for a model back in November 17 that would reflect that. At that time, I had no awareness of employee ownership. Obviously, we're a lot more further down the line now, thanks to the Employee Ownership Association and other bodies. So that was a big challenge, finding the right model. But when I found it, it seemed to fit perfectly. And so far, so good. So hopefully that's kept it within about a minute and a half.
Thank you, Neil. Very good introduction there. I'll move on to Katrina now.
Yeah, thanks, Yogi. Yeah, I'm Katrina Ritchie from Gripple, People and Culture Director. I've been with Gripple for 21 years. We're employee owned, obviously. We are 100% employee owned, and our model is a direct model. So all employees are asked to buy shares within their first 12 months at Gripple. So what do I look after? Recruitment, L&D, people, HR's banned. I've got a big sign in the office. I'm in the office right now with a cross through it. We don't want HR, we want our leaders to be responsible for their people. And that's where recruitment comes into it, because a couple of years ago we decided to bring recruitment in-house, and because the main driver for that is our people know who they want to employ. They know what to look for. They know who has the Gripple spirit. So we run a lot of assessment centres for recruitment, and people around the business will be involved in that recruitment process. As Yogi said, job description, there's no job description. So you come to Gripple and you're not going to get one when you join. It's led by responsibilities and objectives. So therefore, we need strong leaders in the business. We run our behaviour-led and coaching-led leadership development programs. But then thinking about recruitment, the other thing we do, we've got a strong talent pipeline. So we will work with, we've got apprenticeship, graduate, traineeships. We offer work experience placements. They're key in our business because we're in Sheffield. There's a lot of big companies in Sheffield like Rolls-Royce and McLaren. So the kids leaving school want to go to Rolls-Royce to do their apprenticeship and not Gripple. So how do we get our brand out there? Well, we do work experience, we go into schools, and we use that as a development opportunity for our leaders as well to visit the schools. So it's all kind of intuitive, but you know, we've had people who've reached board level who've come through an apprenticeship. So it's about having that steady pipeline, but also offering the opportunities internally to develop our people.
Fantastic. Thank you, Katrina. And lastly, we've got Tina.
Lovely. Thank you, Yogi. I always find it interesting that I follow Katrina because we're almost completely the opposite. So we do have job descriptions. We do have HR. So hi, I'm Tina Allen. I'm head of HR for Smile Together Dental CIC. I've been with the company in various disguises for about 14 years. We've got 95 employees, and we are employee owned, and we have been employee owned for about 4 years. So we're still quite new into our journey, I would say. We have shareholders. Employees don't have to be shareholders if they don't want to. They pay £1, but then they go through probation. Once they've been through probation, they could become a shareholder. So Smile Together. So we tackle oral health inequality. Our mission is to create healthier, happier communities. So we're really very much about those people who don't have dentists in Cornwall and on the Isles of Scilly, and we provide that really key service to the community within Cornwall. As Yogi said, we cover Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, and we are one of the Southwest's largest NHS referral and dentist providers in Cornwall. We're award-winning, we're innovative, we function as an employee-owned community interest company and social enterprise with real clear rules around reinvesting our profits back into the community. And that's the key thing that we do. We have various projects we call Brighter Smiles. We have a team that go into our primary schools that deliver oral health education, that delivers what we call fluoride applications. So the key thing we're trying to do is keep our children out of having GAs. And general anaesthetics, GA, is the biggest reason why children go into hospital. There is no other bigger reason than children having extractions and going in. So that's really our key message, is to tackle that oral health inequality that does exist in Cornwall, unfortunately. We've recently, a couple of years ago, opened up a brand new centre, which we built. We bought and renovated, actually. It was an old grammar school, and that's a purpose-built dental centre for for those people in Cornwall and the visitors that come to see us as well. And there's a lot in Cornwall at the moment, let me tell you. So our recruitment is done in-house. We've always done it in-house. When we came out of the NHS in 2016 and become an enterprise of our own, we continue to keep that in-house. So again, like Katrina, we know the type of individual. Our recruitment is very values-based and around our 4 values. So we do our own recruitment. So yes, that's a bit about us.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tina. So yeah, we'll jump into to our questions today. And actually, I'll probably start with yourself, Tina, if that's okay. You know, you mentioned when you came out of the NHS and you were your own enterprise. You know, how did your recruitment change? One of the things that you've mentioned before is that EO has allowed that flexibility. So it'll be really good to hear from you in terms of how your recruitment changed when you made the move to employee ownership.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Yogi. Yes, we definitely found when we came out of being part of another organisation, which we were up until 2016, we were very constrained. There was very specific budgetary processes and recruitment processes that you went through, and actually there were many times when our recruitment was turned down by the company that we were very much working under. Since then, obviously, we're our own company. We can set our own budgets. We know the type of employees that we want to employ. They are very much values-based. We're not constrained at all by that company. We have autonomy. We can be creative with our advertising. We can be creative with our remuneration packages and our salaries. When we can offer golden hellos, we can offer relocation packages, all of those sorts of things we weren't able to do previously. Our real emphasis is about having a voice in the business. That's what being part of the EOA is really about for us, being a shareholder, having a voice in the business, being able to be on our shareholder impact board, which is our employee forum, which meets every month. So once you've gone through your probation, you can be elected onto that, and our employees elect the representatives onto there. So that just makes all of that makes us really different. And being part of the EOA really makes us stand out from other companies and other competitors. Our restraints are more about being in Cornwall, if I'm honest. And I know, you know, there's a lot of people relocating to Cornwall, but our constraints are about enticing our dentists and our clinical teams down to Cornwall. So that's where our constraints are, but it just gives us much more flexibility, much more autonomy, and creative and what we can do and how we advertise and how we recruit.
Okay. Have you got an example of how you've been creative with your advertising? Yeah,
definitely. We obviously, because of the amount of work that we do within our community, so we have a specific project, as I mentioned, the Brighter Smiles project, which is going into primary schools and into nurseries. But we also have a project we do every year called Smiles at Sea, which is working with the Fishermen's Mission and the seafarers, because we have a number of communities that are well known for actually not going to the dentist, farmers, those that are travellers, so fishermen. So fishermen is one of the projects that we have, and just by advertising that, anybody coming in within our clinical teams or our professional support teams are able to get involved in that type of community project. So we literally have a dental mobile that goes around to all the ports and areas and local fishermen within Cornwall, and dentist, nurses, professional support team. So we're able to advertise that and say, you can come on board, you can be involved, and there's opportunities like that you just wouldn't get in a normal dental environment or dental company or practice. So that's where we really emphasize being different. And we've had dentists join us because they want to be involved and be part of that bigger, wider community than just sort of being in the clinics all the time and seeing the patients.
That's fantastic. And I guess it hooks into the values that you hold within the business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, our values are being generous and innovative and authentic. And that's what makes us really authentic, is being able to go out and provide that service to specific communities and project groups that wouldn't normally be able to access dentistry within Cornwall. So that really does set us aside from any of the other companies, really.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And Katrina, I guess thinking about Gripple and your recruitment practices, where does EO feature within your recruitment?
Well, I think it's quite a tricky one for us because we're a manufacturer. We're very well known in Sheffield. People were known to look after staff, and it's no problem recruiting people locally. But one key area has been employee owned comes into play is when we hire salespeople. So we've got 250 people around the world. They're not in the factories seeing the fantastic facilities and having chef made food delivered to them daily. So and we don't pay commission. So if you're a sales guy, or a sales gal, that's the thing which drives just by the nature of the job, the commission. So being employee owned and then being able to be part of the business and being able to have that autonomy and be able to run their territories as a mini business within Gripple is really important. I think if we didn't have that, there's no way we'd be able to get away without paying commission. But it takes a very special type of person to do that. And usually they'll say, well, I want to, they're usually family people, they want a stable career, but yet they want to get the rewards from that. And as part of our model, as well as we've got Glide, where our chairman and vice president have gifted their shares back to the business. There's a lot of dividend and benefits there that everyone can tap into, but as individuals you can buy the shares and also benefit from your individual dividends. That's really important, particularly in sales. And Tina's talking about Cornwall. That's one of our patches. It's one of the most difficult places to hire for, to find people down there, and people just aren't local to us, and it's right across the globe. It's in every state in America, and how do we attract that salesperson to come and join us without us paying commission? Well, it's through the dividend of being a shareholder and also having a fantastic benefits package to back that up.
Yeah, and again, I can kind of see a bit of a theme in terms of you're attracting those individuals that have the same values that you're looking for, and that's quite quite unique. I think within an industry where sales is important, that you're saying, well, actually, it's not about commission, it's about being part of the organization, and here's the kind of longer term view from their perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And and we do face-to-face interviews. We've done a few online through the pandemic, but we've remained open. All the office staff are here. It's mainly because they want to be. It's where we get our ideas from. It's where we get a buzz from. We want a lively business. But you bring people in for an interview and they'll walk through the factories. You have to walk through a factory to get into our offices. That's deliberate. And they'll say, I can't believe everyone's smiling at me. They can feel that energy. So I think that plays a big part, that those people are smiling and being friendly and nodding at people because they're engaged in the business, and part of that is being an employee owner.
Fantastic. Tina, actually, I think you've mentioned something very similar as well. When you do go through that recruitment process, you've got that ability to have individuals kind of come and see and come and meet different people that are working there to kind of gauge that sense of how well do they fit, how well do they align with the values. Yeah,
absolutely. Where we have a role where you might run an assessment centre, for instance, lots of people would get involved in that assessment centre. Clearly, the line managers and the recruiting managers, but also we would hold a lunch and we'd invite somebody who might work on the reception, or a dental nurse, or who you know, invite a number of employees in, but we would also do the tour similar to Katrina. Yeah, I'd get somebody to take them around the building, see how they would interact with people who they might, depending what level, you know, individual coming in. But if you had somebody quite senior being interviewed, I find it really interesting how they would interact with like somebody on reception or somebody who would work within what we call our decon team. So they clean all the equipment and the instruments. It's just seeing really how they demonstrate those values as they walk around the building, how they interact with people, what sort of questions are they asking? Are they really interested in the company, in the role? And so, yeah, we have very similar. And our shareholder impact board, they also get involved in meeting those new employees as part of their induction, but as part of their recruitment as well, so that they can really understand and give them information about what it is to be a shareholder, what are the benefits. You know, we have a dividend as well, so there is the benefit to being a shareholder, because you get our model, you have to vote. So the shareholders vote on whether we get the dividend, and they make that decision. And so yes, the voice within the business is really, really important, but demonstrating those values during that recruitment process, even to the point of when there's emails going back and forward from the individual to the training coordinator, and how they interact, just even through that or on the telephone, all really adds up to how that person's going to fit into the business, which is the real key thing about fitting in the business and fitting to the values.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. Neil, if I can ask you, in terms of, you know, hearing what we've heard so far from a values-based, you know, meeting people and really understanding the fit within the organisation, what advice do you give to businesses that are looking to recruit, perhaps any EO businesses? You know, how is there any specific advice that you would give to them?
Okay, so just taking one minor step back, because I'm very lucky in a way, because I get a lot of referrals from our accountants and other people in the Northwest to go and talk to businesses, which I really enjoy doing. But one thing I find that's quite interesting is there's quite a desire to want to move into employee ownership, but actually I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about where they are culturally. So quite often, you know, the communication processes won't be brilliant, perhaps a little too much command and control. I've sat in front of engineering companies that probably say, well, what happens if I lose the control? I run this business. Well, you know, culturally, you've got to sort of make sure you're clear on how that fits before you walk into employee ownership. And I think one thing not without going off track, one thing I realised, having researched it a lot and then gone through employee ownership and then announced it to everybody, you know, I'd had a couple of years up front looking at this model and how it was all going to work, totally convinced it would work, and it has, but then probably not quite realising I had a couple of years of extra knowledge about all this. So actually, in a recruitment process, I think sometimes you've got to be a little bit careful how you put it across, because most people that we talk to have never heard of employee ownership, funnily enough, recruitment consultants or operations support services people. So it is a bit of a process from, yes, acknowledging at the beginning of the recruitment process, but then putting it through. So I suppose the advice, if I ever give it out, is really about making sure they've got that, you know, your performance management culture right in the first place, rather than just suddenly announce where it's all great, guys, you're employee owned. So so that's probably partially answers your question. The only other thing to pick up on was, you know, we go back to our workforce management model. Clearly, we still do what we call spot recruitment. So we're going to roll in to fill at a company, but it depends on the people you hire when we're talking about employee ownership. If you look at a if you look at a recruitment consultant role that perhaps wants to leave a larger blue chip organisation, which tends to be the reasons why they want to work for a company that's a bit more inclusive. The employee ownership model underpins everything we say. So really, in terms of, you know, you are given autonomy. We do trust you to get on the job. We'll give you the support tools, and you're not going to have a manager breathing down your neck asking you for 20 activity targets every day. So that's our approach. It's not in every recruitment industry's approach. It can be very activity and price driven. So that attracts recruitment consultants who can genuinely see a difference. And I'm sure, like both Katrina and Smile, we do collaborative hiring. So people will come in the business and walk around the company and speak to lots of people in different departments. So as much as we possibly can. And we're not recruiting for skills, we're recruiting for talent and the sort of people that we want to bring in. So if you have support services people or sales people, as Katrina referred to, you know, it's not that they're in a silo and they've got to go and make the sales. That's part of their responsibility, but also they feel they've got the support services and the support around them to actually help produce that customer value model or that presentation or whatever you want to call it. So that's where we hopefully have a different approach to other recruitment. I'm talking about the competition really now, you know, other recruitment businesses in terms of, you know, that collaborative across the board. And on the sort of structure of shareholdings, all our shares are in one trust, 100% owned. But it's interesting when we did the road shows, and obviously the question came up about sort of profit share, I guess, for want of a better description. There ran some great FAQs, which are really quite interesting, but clearly the profit share came up. So from our point of view, it's quite a simple model. Everybody understands it. A third of the profits go to the staff across the board. And when we did do the road shows, and this is what we communicated the recruitment process, you know, pretty much everyone, nobody I know dissented on it, and everybody said it's over and above what we're getting our normal salary structures and reward systems, and everybody gets the same. And I think again, culturally for us, people are in lots of different roles, lots of different salaries, but it kills out the hierarchy a little bit around that. That's just the way we operate. It doesn't always operate for every other business. But that's worked really well as well. And I think that's really helped the collaboration from the person in admin that perhaps says, well, that's not on my JD to go and talk to somebody about a key account presentation, but actually it is. So that sort of that bonus structure is only part of the equation, but that sort of helps bring it on. So
fantastic.
Sorry, Anne, I forgot your name. I called you Tina. I forgot your name and called you Smile. I do apologise. You're obviously smiling a lot, you see.
We've got a question from the audience actually for yourself, Neil, and it's around how your progression offering has changed since you've become employee owned. So has it changed in terms of how people progress within the organisation and how people kind of see their career going?
Yeah, I mean, we did set up, I mean, we're 54 staff, and I think in terms of people understanding what it was all about and where they fitted in, we have got an employee council and it's got terms of reference and it's well structured. But what we did find, and perhaps it's just again our culture, and a lot of people have been in the business a long time in Kinetic, you know, I'm not the only one that's been there 20 plus years, is that much that we can have some formality around that the sort of going out to the sites and sitting on the end of a table. Yesterday I was in Barnsley, you know, a couple of M&S sandwiches for the first time in 9 months, and they talk about their pipeline, their business, what's going on. I'll talk about what's happening in supply chains, all these problems we're reading about, and staff shortages. And that communication works for us a lot more than having sort of perhaps a representative body of employee council. If you've got 400 people in a company, it's completely different. That's the point a while ago, you know, that we've got that ability because of the size of our business. In terms of progression, I think the story of sort of going up the ladder from recruitment consultant to managing consultant to senior consultant to extra senior consultant to director, which is fairly sort of almost like bank style structures of hierarchy, that doesn't exist in our business. We have a hierarchy for obvious reasons to an extent, but we keep it very flat. But the backdrop to that is that everybody gets involved in the day job and the strategy of the business, and that's what we've got to work really hard at. That you say, you know, might not be the management consultant super manager, but hang on a minute, my job description off the record, which isn't really on the job description, you know, really gets me involved in lots of areas of the business. So that inclusivity thing is really important for us, and it's quite hard at the moment because we're all hybriding and silos a little bit. So that's our big challenge now, to try and make sure we keep that collaborative working together. Much these systems are great to do it. That's probably one of our bigger challenges. So I hope that half answers your question.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll put the question out to Katrina and Tina as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to add around progression and how it works within your organisations, Katrina?
Yeah, I think I've just spotted another question about what else we offer salespeople. Well, you know, all our teams, everybody gets a personal development plan, and they can see the opportunities for development. And we've got some great examples which we show on our careers page and with the case studies about. But this again underpinned by you bringing the right person who's got the values and the Gripple spirit, and that means that that person could probably go anywhere and do anything. And a great example is we had one of our marketing guys, product manager. He approached the business and said, "Let me set up an operation in India." And we did it, you know, in a matter of months, because we knew we'd got the Gripple spirit. We knew we were going to go over there, set up a facility, and it would feel like a Gripple facility and business and everything else. And it does. And you're going to Gripple India, you could be in a factory in Sheffield. You know, everyone's smiling at you. You've got the same feel and everything else. But so that's an example of coming in marketing and then going to head up a brand new function in another country. And there's, like I said, through our development programs and the leadership development programs, people have always got that opportunity if they've got the hunger and the ability to do it. And like I said earlier, we've had apprentices who have gone then on to lead spin-off businesses like Gripple Automation within our group. So there's lots there to people if they want it and if they're capable. Yeah. Yogi, you're on mute.
On mute. I knew that would happen at least once. Tina, again, I guess from your perspective, is there anything that you'd like to add around the progression within Smile Dental?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have job descriptions, and we have performance reviews. So we've got a specific IT platform where everybody has a mid-year review and an end-of-year review. Objectives are set when the employee comes in. Personal development plans as well, so they know exactly what's required of them, what the expectation is. So all of that, as you would expect within an HR environment. Career pathways is one area that, from an HR perspective, that we're really starting to stop focusing on now, so that everybody has a real clear idea of where their career pathway could go. And it could go, you know, you could have a dental nurse who then becomes a dental nurse team lead, who then could become an operations manager. So there's very career steps to be able to follow within HR. Within my team, I've got an HR administrator, an HR coordinator, an HR advisor, head of a business partner, and then me. So it's a very clear pathway. If somebody was really interested in following that pathway, there is opportunities to do so. When I joined, from hopefully a success perspective, I joined as a PA to the clinical director. The operations manager left. I said, oh, I could do that. So I did. And then I said, I'd really like to get more in and get the HR qualification. So completely supported me through the CIPD qualification. And I'm now head of HR. So very similar to Katrina, if you really want to do something and you're really interested in it, the company will 100% support you through study or, you know, through paying for something. So yeah, absolutely. If there's a qualification or an area that you're really interested in, Smile will definitely support you through it.
Fantastic, thank you. So just conscious of time, we've got time for one more question, and it's one from actually from the audience. And I guess it's a bit more around what you know, are there any tools or information that would help you to better communicate employee ownership to your employees that potentially the EOA could provide? So it's a bit of a bigger question around, you know, what we could do from an EOA perspective to support our EO businesses, communicate recruitment, and yeah, question to all three of you actually. We'll start with Tina, seeing as you've just answered the last question.
Thank you. I think from our perspective, what we try and what we do is we encourage, certainly on our shareholder impact board, to sign into the hubs so that they get the information, they know what's going on, so then they can portray that back through when we're doing our recruitment and doing our interviews. So it's just getting what it means to be part of the EOA through our advertising, through our creativity of advertising. And we have lots, and before we even get to interview, especially with our dentists, we have lots of informal discussions with them. So we really emphasize the perspective of being within the EOA. Go and have a look at it. What does being EOA mean, you know, from other companies and that as well. So yeah, it's hard to say what more you could do for us, because we try and tap in as much as we can, and really promote the EOA days and all of the other aspects of EOA, so that when that advertising goes out and it's on our website, people can really see that we're part of a much bigger organization with lots of partners within it, so that we can tap into and you know, get that support from.
Fantastic, thank you. Neil?
Well, yes, just backing that up, really what Tina said. I mean, there's some fantastic resources on the EO website for employers. Perhaps something slightly easier to digest if we're talking about employees. I'm getting on a bit now, but when I grew up and did my O-levels back in 1976, we had these things called key fact cards, and they were sort of little things in a packet that really just sorted out your maths very quickly. So I'm almost thinking something like a key fact card for an employee. And what I mean by that is sort of, you know, the principles of what employee ownership is all about. It's truly for the benefit of the employees, which is a big statement straight away. And then, you know, just some broad areas around, you know, it's about the collaboration and rewarding success and so forth, but almost something like, when I say a key fact card, I don't know, it jumped into my head, but something like that. I mean, the resources on the EO Hub are great. I mean, there's an enormous amount of information on there. So as Tina said, you know, that to ask for any more information from the employer perspective, I suppose it's just perhaps chunking it down a bit for the employees, just on the principles of employee ownership, and actually it is definitely for the benefit of you. And maybe explaining what a trust board is, because that's the biggest problem I ever struggle with employees, explaining when shares are in a trust. I know there's hybrids and different versions, what that actually means. Because trying to explain a trust, which is always a bit of an odd word in my book, you know, in some respects, getting that across is really quite hard. So I'm not sure, I don't know how you explain that in words, but yeah, if you can, that'd be really helpful for me to explain to my guys sometimes.
We'll take that one away, Neil. Thank you. And just lastly, Katrina, is there, I guess, from your perspective, anything else that we could be doing to support that kind of recruitment element?
You know, I think that you know, Tina and Neil have said probably what I would say. The only other thing I've often thought about is a job board. So, because if I'm going out looking for a marketing director, I would rather get one from another employee-owned business than perhaps another one. So it's seeing who's out there, and you know, we're really struggling at the moment for some jobs. I was just looking earlier, and across the globe, we've recruited 168 people so far this year. So we do a lot of recruitment, and we use the standard job boards, but it would be great if there were one connected to the EOA, where people who can upload their CVs and we can search for people. I think that might be a good thing. Debs, and I'll take commission on that one if you put that one in place. But yeah, I think something like that would be helpful. But in terms of communicating about EO, we have quite a rigorous induction process, and we send a lot of people off to the conference as well. Our employees find that useful, and that they can go down and learn all about it there. So that's helpful.
Fantastic. That's actually a really good idea, Katrina. I like that. Yeah, so just to wrap up then, really thank you very much to our guest speakers today. I think the key takeaways from me from our conversation really has been around that kind of values-based recruitment, and when you are looking at advertising, is the things that set you apart as a company. You know, make sure you mention that. A lot of the times, you know, seeing individuals and seeing how they interact with other individuals as well. That seems to be a bit of a good way to look at what sets you apart from a recruitment perspective. And again, just developing people, and as you know, if people have got that kind of drive, is that employer and organizations can perhaps open up some of that support as well.